And I just want to frame the conversation, basically the idea, we want to discuss, you guys want, the two of you, to have a conversation about how spiritual tradition, how different spiritual tradition view the idea of being human. Mm-hmm. So, should we start with your own tradition and see how your own tradition sees the idea of being human, and then from there, let's see where the universe is going to take it.
So I was wondering, how come you didn't tell everybody that this dialogue is the climax of the conference?
I know.
Most people disappeared.
We have the
They don't
elite.
know this could be the most interesting conversation that's going to happen just 4 days.
Yeah, the beauty of this, that we are recording it.
Well, I hope people can listen to it. The point is that we really want to make it useful.
Yeah.
We have the elite troops here.
We're not here
These are the elite.
to talk and entertain. We could just get together for lunch and
Yes.
talk.
Yes, so I'm
Which we will.
Yes, I was complaining about the time, and now I have a lot of time with you, and that's very nice.
Good. So we'll have time together. Let's assume we
Very happy.
have lunch, We'll talk, yeah.
So why don't you go first?
Well, I mean, I'm familiar with various traditions, and the idea is, what is the role, the place of the human being in the various traditions? If you take the Jewish tradition, for instance, the Kabbalah and the Hebraic mysticism, the way they look at it, the view, is that God created the creation imperfect so that human beings perfect it. He left the perfection to the human beings. So creation is really for human beings.
Okay.
So human beings are very important for God's mission. I mean, assuming we accept the view of God. So, and also in the Kabbalah, the human being is seen as a soul that has many degrees of development. Begins with nefesh, which means breath or self, to ruah, which means spirit, to neshama, to hayat, which means life, and then to unity. And so the human being is an evolving consciousness until it reaches something indefinable. That's how they see it. So the human being is the vehicle through which the divine reveal its secrets, basically. That's how they see it. Now, the Sufi tradition, the other side,
Sorry, the what?
The Sufi tradition.
The Sufi idea.
The Sufi, which is the mystical side of Islam. They have their tradition, which is that one way, it is said, is one of the greatest Sufis, Ibn Arabi, Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi, you probably heard of him, from the 13th century, from Andalusia. He said, God needs the human just as much as the human needs God.
Oh, Ibn Arabi, yes.
Yeah, Ibn Arabi. He talks about the unity of existence. He brought in the non-duality into the Sufis. And what that means, God needs the human. Meaning God, whatever the divine is, whether you personalize it, whatever, needs a human, because without the human, God wouldn't know He's God. Wouldn't perceive. There'll be no experience. There'll be nothing to experience and live the creation. And the human needs God to exist, because God is pure being. It's what gives the human being the fact of life and being and all of that. So that's important. The other thing that the Sufi tradition has in it is that the human being is, they're called the barzakh, which I mentioned earlier this morning, which means the bridge. Is a bridge, is the connecting link between this world and the invisible world. The invisible world is the spiritual world and all its possibilities and dimensions and potentialities and all of that, from all the way from presence consciousness to nothingness and emptiness. And that in that way, their ideal is not the enlightened human being. It's not enlightenment. They don't talk about enlightenment. Neither the Sufis nor the Kabbalists talk about enlightenment. They talk about the completion, the completed human being. So the completed human being is the one who has completed all the potentialities of experience and illumination that is possible for a human being. So complete human is sometimes called the perfect human being.
Right.
It's not really a perfection and a never-ending project, which is that the human being can evolve and develop by integrating all the possible potentialities in the physical realm and the potentialities in the intellectual realm and the potentialities in the spiritual realm. All of it in one being. And that becomes perfect human being who then it's called has a foot on each world. So they don't deny the physical world, the ordinary world as illusion, and they don't emphasize the spiritual as the only truth. It's the complete human being is the human being that has foot in both worlds. So that's the true tradition. The other tradition I'm aware of is the DiamondApproach, which I teach, right? And that we could discuss a little further after you tell us a little bit about the Eastern traditions and where the human being stands. You know, there's Buddhism and Hinduism and various kinds. It'll be, I think, useful for many people to know these things. You're an authority there.
So it's very, so it's very interesting to me to seek to bridge between theism and Buddhism.
Yes.
And as you know, as you've heard me say, I consider that Buddha is primarily a scientist. And he's not a religion founder. And even Max Weber, the sociologist, couldn't fit him in with being a prophet, you know, like Muhammad or Christ or Moses and so on. So then he decided that he would make two categories of prophet. He would make an emissary prophet, right, who is giving out God's command and word and so forth.
Like
and then he called Buddha an exemplary prophet, who's modeling what one could be and not really doing the order of any god. You know? So although Brahma, who is like the creator in the Indian society of that time, does figure in the Buddhist story. He's like a supporter. He asks God to teach in a way he does, but he doesn't say that the teaching comes from him, it comes from Buddha. But so in thinking about this conference, I was thinking about a couple of things. And I think the big difference is that, which I like therefore what you said about what Ibn Arabi said, that God needs the human as much as the human needs the God. Because in Buddhism, according to Buddha's sort of scientific study of evolution, let's say, the human being is the most appropriate, the closest being to becoming a Buddha, which is presented not as a spiritual sort of thing out of the blue, but it's presented as the ultimate evolution, the ultimately and unimaginably fantastic summit of evolution. Beyond that of a god, or a human, ordinary human, or any other animal.
Has to become a human to be enlightened.
And that, Buddha, the last life of a Buddha always is coming back from, actually Shakyamuni in his story, he was in two god realms. He was in one called Akanishta, which is the highest one where Brahma also stays, which is at the frontier of the formless realms, infinite space realm. It's like at the event horizon of infinite space. And he could descend from there to a desire realm heaven called Tushita, which is like a paradise. And then from Tushita, he watches the planet and he picks a kingdom and a society and an era and parents. And then he goes and he becomes a human. And he's presented as a bodhisattva at that time, not yet a Buddha, until he becomes human. And so that's one thing that it came to me, is that the Buddha, it's a little bit sort of like God and Jesus, in the Hebraic thing, in the Christian thing, where God shows humans that he suffers with them or something like that, and they can rise above that, actually. I think the Christians make a bit much out of the crucifixion rather than the resurrection, which I think is more interesting personally. The Russians are better in that way, the Orthodox, the Greeks and the Russians, than the Western Christians. So the other thing is that of the 4 unfortunate births that one can evolve into, there's actually 8 unfortunate circumstances, but if the 4 ones that have to do with specific life forms are to be reborn in hell, to be reborn as something called a preta, which is not a ghost actually, it's worse than an insect, it's really a horrible hunger and thirst sort of place, and then a brute animal, non-language speaking animal, and then a long-lived deity, one of the very long-lived deities. That's also a misfortune, because you think you're invulnerable and permanent, and you've reached everything, and you don't care about anything, and you don't have the vulnerability and the sensitivity to try to develop yourself to this new level of evolution. So then there's this thing in depth Buddhism, which you know, of course, but I think our audience doesn't necessarily know, where they take the inconceivability of a Buddha evolutionary achievement, and they divide it into initially 2 different embodiments, one which is called a reality embodiment, and one which is called a beatific embodiment, or I'm sorry, a material embodiment. Although they're really the same thing, but they sort of divide them so we can try to think about it. And the reality one, Dharmakaya, means that you perceive yourself when you become a Buddha, having been a human, you perceive yourself as being everything, including all other beings, gods, humans, animals. You think you're all of it, which is inconceivable, of course. You don't have that specific point of view anymore of just being you, looking out at everything. You feel literally that you are everything, which is already inconceivable. Then second, and then when you do that, apparently, you feel you're all the unenlightened beings, as well as all the enlightened beings, and they're all fine. All the unenlightened ones are all diamond. They're all diamond out too.
Right.
But then weirdly, they say, you get to enjoy it as yourself. So the former individual gets to enjoy being everybody and being one with all the enlightened and unenlightened beings. So they enjoy being one with all of them, and yet they also recognize that everyone who's a Buddha and everyone who's not a Buddha, they're still being themselves in some way, which we can't, it's not conceivable. It's a paradox, it's a cognitive dissonance, right? So then, the other part that's weird is, as far as the enlightened ones go, when you think you're all of them, that's no problem. You don't bother each other. You're all completely happy and quiescent and blissful and no problem. But the ones who you think you are who are unenlightened, because of their ignorance, they don't know that they're okay. So you cannot be insensitive to them. So you're kind of forced to be aware that they are not aware that they're all right and they're suffering. So then this is then the preposterous thing. You then, apparently, manifest or split yourself endlessly into whatever emanations. They use the word nirvana in Sanskrit, which means like an emanation, I might have a fantasy, but if you're a Buddha, you just are a person, or a dog, or a cat, or a planet, or a microphone, or a clock, whatever any being needs, you manifest as that without limit. And to open, because you can't somehow force them to overcome their ignorance and recognize that they're also in this diamond universe, And so you have to open a door for them. And each one has a different door that they might like. Someone won't go in this door and someone will go in that door and whatever, So you manifest all of that. And this level of Indian originally imagination is so inconceivable to other parts of Eurasia. personally think that it took me 50 years. I'm still not quite getting it, and I'm still, I don't know if that's possible. It's like we feel like that. And I once had translated a conversation between a Lama and a Lutheran minister. And this Lama, very creative and brilliant one, he was asking that, he didn't speak English, he was asking the minister, said like, well, because they were talking about Buddha, and he was saying, well, we have this nirmanakaya, body of emanations, that is like unlimited, and we're assisting of suffering beings to overcome their suffering. And then he said, and you guys have this omnipotent deity, but you keep saying he only has a one son in one time, in one place. But how many children do you have? I have 5 children. Okay, you have 5 children, but your omnipotent God, you insist only can have one kid. And he went on and back and forth like that for some time, because trying to probe to see if the guy could think of maybe God had a couple of kids he didn't mention. and maybe some daughters.
He didn't
and then he said,
he didn't send down to earth, probably.
Yes, and then he a little bit got me in trouble, because he said to me, he muttered to me in Tibetan, not to be translated, he said, I guess the old boy only had one bullet in him.
Ouch.
And then I burst out laughing, of course. So then I said, well, he said, I must be very far out, that maybe there's all kind of other invisible activities or something like that. so I fudged it, But this is this amazing thing. And recently, Hameed, I had this interesting experience myself. We're thinking about that Dharmakaya thing, where, in a way, that's related to emptiness itself, It's reality, it's ultimate reality, it's absolute, And I was thinking absolute.
All of these
But then I realized, well, that means that all the beings that have ever become Buddhas in the infinite past, because there's no first beginning in this cosmology, they all, the poor things, they're thinking they're me. I mean, of course, everybody else, but me too. So they think they're me. And then I'm frustrating them all the time by being ignorant and miserable and dissatisfied and whatever. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
And in other words, seeing it as a personal thing made me really take it in a funny, different way, instead of thinking of it as just some sort of openness of energy, but seeing it that all those, Shakyamuni Buddha has to struggle through Bob Thurman's day and think of some doors that might open to me to cool me out, It was amazing to me. It was a big difference for me. It made a big difference.
So do you think, from what you know, is that the Buddhist conception of a human being is different from what was in the Vedas, for instance?
Oh, yes. From the Vedas?
Yeah.
Yes, I think
What's the difference? How
I think any theistic system, especially, Vedas maybe you could say is not strictly a creationist type of thing, but it's sort of mixed with it. A little bit is. And so any theistic system will think of a human as something lesser than an absolute deity. The Vedas, the poems of the Vedas are the body of Brahma or something at a later date, but earlier there was these Dyaus, the sky god, and there's some cosmogonies in there, But they're a little bit less, because they were nomads, the original people of the Vedas, they're a little bit less monotheistic than sort of a king. They don't see it quite like that. But let's say Indra creates everything. So then you are lesser than the creator.
Right.
And then your mystic gets in trouble by saying, well, they want to be one with the creator. But that's what I was saying in thinking about this. I was thinking about how the human, having evolved to this altruistic sensibility, this social thing of being able to feel they are one with the other among animals, a human.
Yeah.
They then run away from that sensitivity because it feels so overwhelming to be sensitive, because you're afraid of pain, right? So then in the theistic thing, the human has to be lesser than God and has to go back to God somehow. The mystic will go. The non-mystic will just go to heaven and sing in the choir or something like that. But they're going to get out of this human life somehow, And whereas I think the Buddha thing is that the combination of the sensitivity and intelligence and the vulnerability of the human is what enables and forces, in a way, the evolution into this more amazing, loving being, an instrument of love, an agent of love, I would say, actually.
Yeah. So wait, the human are the instrument of love created by the God. So basically, because you were saying, in Sufism, you were saying, I love it, you made it succinctly. So in Sufism, the God and the humans, they need each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the Hebrew tradition, in the Jewish tradition, it's the God is designed to create perfection of an imperfect world.
Right.
Yes.
And in Buddhist, do we have the cliff note? Do you have one line to tell me? In Buddhist, the human is created by the God because?
No, humans are not created by God.
Okay, the humans why the humans are around?
Humans have been gods.
Have been gods
and they have been animals, all kinds of animals.
Okay.
And they've been Mrs. God and Mrs. Animals too.
Okay.
All of them.
So basically, human is just a phase in the.
Yeah. So this is an important difference in the sense that the idea that the human is created by God out of God's love. Unfortunately, the human has a really difficult time believing that, because of the ascription of omnipotence to the God, the creator God. If the God is omnipotent, why doesn't he make me Buddha to start with, or God to start? What's the problem putting me among suffering? But there's no point.
That's the point is in the Hebrew, in the
the Kabbalah tradition.
In the Kabbalah tradition, that's exactly that.
Yeah. So that's why in the Buddhist story, the monk goes to Brahma, who can travel in his astral body, and he gets to Brahma's heaven. And he says to Brahma, you created the world, I won't understand it. Can you explain to me how you did it, and what existed before earth, water, wind, fire, and space, and consciousness? And God said to him, do you have an appointment? It was a little bit back and forth like that. So then finally he said, because God, I'm very busy, God said. So then Brahma said, or God said, then he left. He said, okay, I'm sorry to bother you, and he left. The yogi, he was leaving the heaven, and then God came out of the heaven himself, out of the main sort of central throne room, and went out himself just by apparition, because he's powerful. And then he said, hey, come here, like a Wizard of Oz thing. And then the guy says, don't, look, I'm leaving. I'm not going to bother you. Don't get me scared, because it's powerful God. So God says, no, I just can't send you away without answering you, he said. I didn't answer you in there, because let me tell you what happened. When the universe came up in its cycle out of the pralaya, state of dissolution, and it was about to be populated type of thing, I was the first being that arrived, because I'm the luckiest and the most powerful of the previous round. And so I arrived, and nobody was there, and I was thinking, what's going on? Where am I? What am I doing here? And then all those other beings showed up, pop, 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 pop. They just came like that. Those gods are not born out of a womb. They're born out of a lotus. They're just apparition. And when they saw me, they said, Papa. And at first I said, I'm not your Papa. Like, give me a break. What is this? I'm not your Papa. And then they got very freaked out. So then I said, okay, I'm Papa. Everything's under control. Be calm, be cool, And then since then, they've been very worshiping me, and then other beings do too. He said, so I couldn't answer you truthfully, that I didn't really know how it works, because they would have all freaked out, in the throne room. So I'm just telling you. And then he said, go down there and find that guy who's going to be a Buddha. And then he will figure it out, and he'll explain it to you. And then ask him to do me a favor, which is tell the living beings that I like it when they worship me, when everything's great and they're happy and prosperous and everything's fine. But when horrible things happen to them, I don't like it when they blame me, because I'm not omnipotent. I didn't make evil. Yeah. So this is a way of getting out of the problem of omnipotence.
I understand that. But so far you haven't answered Maurizio, which is what is really the definition of a human being in Buddhism. You said the human was a god, was animal,
Yes.
but what makes a
No,
human
well,
human?
this is the thing.
And why?
What's
Somehow-
human?
Somehow, I think other Buddhas helped them. I had a vision once. I was talking to Brian Swim. You may know who he is.
It's here.
He's probably, he's been here, I'm sure.
No,
he's a
he's
great
here,
guy.
right.
Yeah.
And he is a disciple of Father Barry,
Yeah.
Thomas Barry, and he connects the science cosmology with Genesis, to try to make them fit in a beautiful way. And we were talking about this very issue. And I suddenly thought to myself, I hate pain, and everybody does. So we would have all clogged up the formless realms at the top of the universe, and we'd be hiding up there as long as we could. No bodies, without any bodies, so we couldn't get in trouble, because we can't feel pain, And then how do we ever get out of there, And then I realized that some other bodhisattva, there's a special bodhisattva called the essence of space, or the womb of space bodhisattva, who's more or less like a Buddha, but he behaves like a bodhisattva. And he goes into those areas, and somehow he has some kind of a psychic cattle prod, and he brings us back out. And the reason we need these sensitive limbs and these sensitive organs of perception is to precisely be challenged about love, and to be able to reach out, and I can reach out and hold your hand.
Yeah.
If we were both hiding in the formless realm, totally cool, of course.
Yeah.
We would not have the challenge of contact and having to somehow figure out how even the state of vulnerability is liberation, actually, is made of diamond, is brilliant, And the key thing is this: God creates the humans out of love, and your mystic human in the theistic system wants to express love. The problem is that they have a subliminal thing, because we are sort of rational beings somewhere. We have common sense, right? We don't want to...
Some of us.
We can be crazy, but we also do have common sense. And so, we feel we're stuck in a position by somebody and they should be taking care of it. So we don't have the same kind of energy and imagination of figuring out artistic ways of loving beings and how to really bring them into happiness. Whereas when you release God from that obligation, which the Buddhas never denied God, but they listened to him and they said, he's not to be blamed. So he's in it, we're all in it together, including God, and therefore the education we need to evolve is not imposed on us by somebody who's omnipotent and didn't have to. It is a natural way we do, to overcome our own misknowing. And therefore we don't, we can, and then there's no limit to how loving we can become, something like that. It opens us, and I think mystics in theistic religions get into that area, and they challenge those people who just want to obey God, and they just want to be, who therefore are just, the institutions,
Bob,
Yes.
why humans exist
Why?
in the Buddha? Why there are humans in the Buddhist? But give me one sentence. Why Buddhists? Why? Because it was so beautiful. In Sufis, because they help us. No, in the
Right.
Hebrew tradition to give up perfection, and in the Sufi they help each other. What you say is halfway between the two. I cannot understand, because you come with the Bodhisattva, you get so
There's
confused.
two answers to that.
Can I pick one?
Yeah, but I can say it in one.
One at a time.
Well,
I can say it in one sentence
Yes.
with a comma.
Okay.
On the absolute level,
Yes.
humans do not exist.
Comma.
On a relative level, they exist because of their lack of knowing
Okay.
what they really are.
Okay, so they are a form that exists in the attempt of better understanding and become gods.
Well, they become Buddha,
Buddha.
but that's beyond God. Gods also have to become human to become Buddha.
Okay,
And that
clear.
because the difference being, God is still a separate being who's beyond the human and the animal and the whole thing. But Buddha is all beings.
Yes.
But that,
So that's the relative reason.
doesn't answer him, though.
What's that?
That
Very
doesn't
close.
answer Maurizio. What
Really?
your answer is
Well-
true about all beings, not just human beings. That they don't exist
Because
And
what? I'm
they
sorry?
exist
All
because
beings.
of their ignorance. That's your answer.
That's the relative answer.
Absolutely don't exist. Or they exist relatively because of their ignorance. But that applies to all beings, not
Yes.
just human beings. So what is it about human beings that makes them human?
Well, human is the one that can become a Buddha most easily.
Is the last station.
Yes, your crocodile has difficulty
So
with the
that's-
lotus posture
That's the importance of the human being.
because of the big
That's-
tail.
So the importance then of a human being in Buddhism is that the human being is the one who can become a Buddha, is the being
Most
that
easily.
most easily can become a Buddha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, and even as a Buddha, they say a Buddha can also become a god.
Yeah,
And in a way, Buddha thinks he's all the gods.
yeah.
And there's just in other words, Buddha never. Many people will tell you Buddhism is atheistic, and that's totally wrong.
Yeah.
They just relativize the power of God,
Yeah.
and it is an answer, and I'll tell you why. Because the why they don't exist is sort of the deepest thing. In other words, we're just all bliss, So we do sort of exist even absolutely as a bliss, you could say. But the point is, there is no absolute answer. When you ask why, there's no absolute answer for you. There are only relational answers for different contexts.
Yeah.
Do you know? And the point is, you're there. So are you going to be nice or are you going to be a pain? That's it. There's no why. Except when you're nice, you get nice. You get lucky. So it's smarter to be nice.
So another question. Another question about what you just said.
Yes.
You said a human is the being that become a Buddha. Is a Buddha not human?
No, Buddhas also can be human, yeah.
Oh, so the Buddha is still human.
Yeah, Buddhas can emanate as a
So
true
the
human.
human can become a Buddha, but that doesn't stop being a human.
In a way, that's true.
Yeah, still
Yeah,
human.
sort of.
Because Buddha still, when he became Buddha,
The kind of human I want to
he
be.
lived as a human being. He was meditating and eating and all of that.
if a Buddha was
he
a
just
human-
didn't have sex, that's all.
When a Buddha is a human, they don't need a transporter room. They don't need to go through TSA in a waiting line.
Yeah,
They want to go to San Francisco, they just beam over there. Bam!
yeah.
Because they're already in that infinite
Yeah,
bed of
they-
energy.
they have the-
access to that.
They have the potentiality more actualized.
Yeah.
The way I see it,
They're dead and alive at the same time.
that the potentiality of the human are all potentialized, including transubstantiation, traveling through space without
absolutely.
time, all of that. But that's the potential of being human. He's still a human.
Well,
Because he
but the
lived-
point is humans can be like that.
Yeah, humans can be like that.
Yes.
And-
That's why I was saying earlier when I was reading in the wonderful Yuval Noah Harari, Brilliant Man,
Yeah,
about how in Homo Deus, how humans are now going to conquer death by making machines.
right.
It is so stupid because, he's not advocating it. He's just saying that's what they're going to do, And Google is spending money on it,
Yeah.
And it's so dumb because for that amount of money, you could have this conference could be run in every city in the United States all the time as an institution, and people could be, and you wouldn't have to run all of them. Relax. And then, and people could learn to understand what death is, and they could know that death is just bliss, and they could be blissfully alive, simultaneously absolute and relative. Not, in other words, not absolute, defining absolute as an escape from the relative. That's my key point about spirituality.
Okay, there is something that is really, I've always found, I'm gonna be killed here for what I'm saying now, but I always find Buddhism so amazingly complex that
Complex?
Complex.
Yes, of course. But life is complex.
I
And
don't know.
Buddhism is science. It's like complex science.
I don't know.
It's not
I
just
love
believe
the one line.
Believe that.
They created and the humans are here to re-perfect the world.
It's a civilization.
So we got the line.
I know, we got the line, but still,
He likes to tell a story.
but still the line, it's a line with so many, relative, it's really incredibly powerfully beautiful, complex. But I mean, it's like, I feel it will be something, if I start to get into it, I will never figure it out a way out. I will never be able to go to the bottom again.
Of course you can.
Seriously.
You've already figured it out.
Yeah.
Look at that hairdo and the glasses and the whole thing. And the joyfulness. It's joy.
Okay.
It's the joy of...
Beautiful.
The point is...
So how the human become
the
Buddha?
The authorities on earth, and East as much as West, they, in order to control their populations, these wild and woolly human beings, they terrorize them culturally from birth. Mm-hmm. There's horrible things going to happen to you, this and that. And then they invent a super king. They make a god in the image of a dictator who's like going to punish them like this if they like tweak their genitals or something. They're going to go to hell. And they terrorize them. And what the Buddhist thing is like some people beam down and they break the prime directive and they, of Star Trek, and they try to cheer people up. You have this magnificent planet. You have this magnificent embodiment. You have these fantastic women and men. And you can be peaceful, and the trees will feed you, and the ground will feed you. There's a cosmogony in Buddhism where originally we just ate the dirt. It was so delicious. Robert Frost, a great poet, he went to Iowa. I once went and gave a talk in Iowa, and my host told me that there's a famous thing at this college when they invited Robert Frost 30 years earlier. And when he was driving from the airport in Des Moines, and he saw what I was admiring is this big black topsoil, fantastic. And he said, when Robert Frost saw it, he said, "Oh, it looks so delicious. I'd like to eat it without straining it through the vegetables." That's a poet, That's a Sufi. That's a true Sufi.
So in Buddhism, the human is not created, right?
The human's what?
Not created by a deity.
No.
And how about in Hinduism? Is it created by a deity?
Well, on and off. In the sense that, really because they were infected.
What is the human in Hinduism?
They were infected by Buddhism. They did have their tribal deities, their Vedas, and then they had three different types of monotheism that emerged: the Brahminical one, and then Shaivite, and then Vaishnavite, which are each other monotheistic, each one. And it's a huge population, many countries. In India, not just one country, and they did that. But then they sort of have them fusing into each other, and then they kind of get that, well, the speech does it, and then they have a lot more Sufis, because they were a lot wealthier in ancient time, and they are a lot more tolerant. They have yoga and stuff, and they had their masters in Johnson, in the 4th century, not in the 20th century, So they even had enjoyable sexuality in the ordinary people.
How about like a tradition like Vedanta or Advaita Vedanta? How about like Advaita Vedanta? How do they see the human?
Well, see, that's the thing. In Vedanta, Shankara, following his grand teacher Gaudapada, who borrowed from Buddhism the Nagarjunian emptiness business, and Shankara expressed that in terms of what he called Nirguna Brahman, or unqualified Brahman. And then the later Vedantins smashed him down, saying that that's too Buddhist. But because it was infected by Buddhism, where once the absolute is unqualified, that really becomes emptiness, and that relativizes all the stories of the creators and this and that monotheistic deity. That relativizes. So Ramanuja, especially, most spectacular, he said, no, we have qualified non-dualism. We don't like that absolute non-dualism because it relativizes our caste system, the superiority of the Brahmins, blah, 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 the creation, and that you can't be God yourself, but God is like a mother cat who picks up her kitten by the nape of the neck and puts you up nearby, and you're sort of saved by God, but you're not God. And so India was sort of infected by the Buddhist absolute relativity idea, which wrecks your defense system.
So how come many Advaita Vedanta think of the human being as an illusion?
as an illusion?
An illusion.
Well, because they are running away from their sensitivity. I'm sorry. That's a way of running away from it.
But they do take that view. You realize
Yes, of course. And
They
many
don't-
Theravada Buddhists do.
Yeah.
Theravada Buddhists also
Theravada
do.
Buddhists do.
And they say that, oh yes, Buddha taught nirvana, but this here, this can't be nirvana.
Yeah.
This sucks around here, like, really? I don't even speak Italian, like, like, that's what you say.
Okay.
And so they say nirvana is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get there and leave my rotten body here and everybody else. And at least I won't bother them.
Right, yeah.
So there's a little compassion there, like I'm not going to be a pest, but I'm going to leave. But the real teaching of Buddha, which we Buddhists think, he taught, for sure. And the real one is that nirvana is here. And any place you can go to is relative, not absolute. Because there's a boundary, you're not there yet.
Yeah.
So when we when we know we're in nirvana, we know we've always been in nirvana. Yeah. It's here now.
So you're saying then Shankara took the idea of a human being as non-created from Buddhism, but
a little bit.
As a real.
No, he liked to keep connected to his Brahmin friends.
Yeah.
But he was infected by their relativism.
Infected. Okay.
By the emptiness of the absolute.
Okay. And the human is for Shankara is real, is not an illusion.
No.
And later on.
No, for Shankara, the human, you can say,
you
can say the human is illusory, like an illusion. Buddha never says they're illusion. He says they're like an illusion.
Like an illusion, yeah.
So
they appear like an illusion.
Yes. Like my old Mongolian geshe used to say, people think they're real, and they're not wrong, and they should not forget that they're real. But the problem is, they think they're really real, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
When they exaggerate, this self-centered reality, then they get in trouble with the universe.
Besides, the word illusion doesn't mean that it's not real. Illusion is simply mean that it's not what it looks. It doesn't mean that something that is an illusion doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It simply means, and in Vegas, Las Vegas,
even
the illusion is like...
Even illusion exists,
Yeah, it's not.
Like, Maya, by male chauvinists, Maya is considered a naughty female who sucks the male soul into embodiment, which the male doesn't want, and they want to leave. That's the Sankhya philosophy, And there's a little tinge of that in Hinduism in general. But Maya is the name of Buddha's mother, Maya Devi. And you can be translated as magic. Mayakara means a magician. And we can call a magician an illusionist also. But illusion has some kind of reality. It's like it's different.
That's how Rupert changed his view. He used to say that the individual is an illusion, and now he says it's an illusion, but it's real. Right? An illusion that is real.
Yeah.
And so I want to go back to vast traditions.
Okay.
How about Taoism?
Ooh. Taoism?
Do you know how Taoism
I think that the Taoism is just in the same plane, actually. I think all wise people, without needing Buddhism as a religion, I think they all get there, actually, in different ways, and especially like Taoism. And I think that religious Taoism, the early Taoism, and then what they call in sort of history, religious Taoism, about 300-400 years after Lao Tzu, and even 200 years after Zhuangzi, where they, the Dao Ke Dao, Fei Chang Dao, Ming Ke Ming, Fei Chang Ming. The first few phrases of the Dao De Ching, that's what they are.
Right.
And it says Dao Ke Dao, Fei Chang Dao. And Dao we know is the way, right? And then it's repeated, the word is repeated twice, Dao Ke Dao. Ke means capable. And then Ming Ke Ming, and name, Ming means the name, and Ke is again capable. So those are the first Dao Ke Dao. And then Fei Chang Dao. Fei means negation, there is not. Chang means permanent or fixed, and then Dao is repeated. And Ming Ke Ming, Fei Chang Ming. So later, every commentary in the AD and the CE centuries translates the first Dao, the second Dao. They say the Dao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. So they make it a dualistic expression.
Right. Yes.
Do you follow? There's like a Tao somewhere, eternal one. The one that's named is not that.
It's neti-neti.
But the point is, that's a stupid translation. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because the next sentence says Ming Ke Ming, which is talking about naming. So why is Lao Tzu using an unusual meaning of the word Tao to name, when really Tao means, when you use Tao as a verb, it means to weigh on the way or go on the way. So if you take it non-dually, you say the Tao can be Taoed or traveled on, but you can't make a permanent name out of the Tao. You can't make it, you can't fixate it. You can walk on it, but you can't fixate it.
Can't fix it.
You can use names, but you can't fixate any name. That's total non-dual.
But the name doesn't always hold in some sense.
What?
Name is useful for some time.
Yes, of course. So you can use a name.
In Taoism, what's the difference between the Tao and the human?
The difference between the Tao and the human?
Yeah.
The human is the guy walking on the Tao.
But how does Taoism think of the human? Is the human arises out of Tao?
It likes them. Lao Tzu liked them. He got tired of working in the library.
Did they actually have stories or philosophy about the human?
Yeah,
Taoism?
Well, he was dealing with a bunch of, a little bit over punctilious, too many hours in the office Confucians.
Yeah.
And he wanted them to have a break, so he wanted them to kind of be non-dual and have a little more fun. And then they weren't having fun. They were being because Chinese were a little rough on their women in ancient times. They were a little tough on them, a little chauvinist, super chauvinist indeed. Yeah. Nobody else broke feet like that. And so he left China. He went off to India because they're having more fun in India.
Yeah, I agree.
I get it.
Which they do.
I'm still, there's something here that ungraspable for my little brain. So first there were in evolution, there were the crocodile who couldn't sit in the lotus, right? The crocodile could not sit in the lotus position.
I'm sorry,
Crocodile could not sit in the lotus position, therefore, you said that, right? Crocodile.
Oh yeah, crocodile would have a hard time meditating.
Cannot meditate, okay. So then the evolution continued until the point in which we reach the humans.
Yes.
And the goal of the human is to become the Buddha.
Yes.
So wait, how do we know the human is the final destination? Maybe the robot.
Well, humans can be more amazing. Even as a human, you can be a more amazing human.
So this is only a phase in time.
And then you can super accelerate that evolution.
This is only a phase in evolutionary time. We are just like the crocodile were probably a few billion years ago. Now we have the human.
No, that whole myth that scientists have cooked up from the Cambrian slime. All the genes are running there. There's no individuals. That's a mythology. That's a mythology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody, they didn't find the human crawling out of the cave. They always find a new Neanderthal who's like playing poker or something. It's ridiculous. It's just a myth.
Okay.
And also there's plenty of humans,
here?
excuse me,
Get it.
from in the Buddhist sutras, there's tons of other planets with millions of humans.
Okay.
Tons of them.
Okay.
And you can be a human who can go, boom, planet to planet like that.
Okay, I didn't know that part.
With a subtle part.
Clear.
So don't get all stuck on that. But this is interesting though, when you mention the crocodile.
Yeah.
Because the crocodile, you see, it's very hard to evolve past and not be stuck as a crocodile. Why?
Tell me.
The crocodile who begins to question how cool it is to be a crocodile is the one, then when Mauricio is in Florida, and you're going out to look at the cormorants and the egrets and the birds in the Okeechobee, and there's a crocodile lurking there, and it sees you, and it says, instead of pouncing on you, because you are well-fed and you could be delicious, they say, he's Italian, let him go. I'll wait for one of those crappy Americans. Let that Italian guy go. Now, how is crocodile going to think that? But some crocodile, probably Mrs. Crocodile, is going to say, that boy has a few more seeds to sow. He's got more things to do. I can feel it in his energy field. I'm going to wait for some stringy, old, weird character like Bob Thurman. I'm going to eat him, and I'm going to let Maurizio go. And that tiny bit of imagining your victim as a lower animal, and then being a little relenting, being merciful, that creates a movement in evolution to a less well-organized killer being. But it's very difficult for such a thing to happen. Because they don't have self-reflective thinking. They don't read the sutras. They don't read Ibn Arabi.
Yeah, so that brings me to a place where I can give you the view of a human being in the Diamond Approach.
Okay, what's the Diamond Approach?
Right.
I mean, come on, Diamond Approach is a Vajra approach, right? Vajra.
Yeah.
You have like a crystal Vajra there.
That's a Vajra.
So, okay, I love that.
Indra,
let's hear about
it. Indra had Vajra, which was the Indian god.
What's that?
The Vajra came from Indra.
Yes, but Buddhists changed the meaning of it.
They changed the meaning.
Yes.
But they took it from Indra. Indra had it
because it was a symbol of supreme power.
Yes.
But it was violent power, male chauvinist violent power, lightning bolt, thunderbolt, right?
Right.
And then Buddhism, it means love and compassion.
Love and compassion. A skillful means.
That's what it did. As I said, it ruins your defense establishment.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the Diamond Approach, I'll tell you a story first.
Okay, please do.
You like stories, so I'll tell you a story. There's a story in the Quran that tells something about human, about Adam, of Adam. And I use it as sort of a metaphor that tells us something about the human being, right? And then I'll tell you after that how I see the human being.
Okay.
In the Quran, there's a story that when God created Adam from mud, created him from the earth, right, from mud, and blew on him from his breath, and he became a living being. Then he brought all the angels. He had angels and archangels and all that. That's the Islamic monotheistic story is similar to Christian and, developed the whole prophetic tradition. But the story, the instructive part of it, is that when God created Adam, he collected all the angels and archangels, and he commanded them, and he told them, all of you now, you need to kneel to Adam.
Right, I remember that.
Except
Lucifer wouldn't do it,
Yeah, they said, kneel to Adam.
Right.
They all did except one, which is the greatest of the archangel Lucifer.
Right.
Right? And that's when God threw Lucifer down. He got demoted and became the devil. Satan. Right?
Okay.
Now, the meaning of the story, the idea of the story that the Sufis take, which I think is very useful, is that each one of the angels were a being of light, right? But they were a specialized being of light. Like each angel will be pure love. One angel is the angel of love, pure love. And this angel is pure compassion. This angel is pure intelligence.
Okay.
And this angel is pure pleasure.
Right.
This angel is pure delight. This angel is pure creativity.
Yeah.
So each angel had a specialty. The archangels had a bunch of quality or had dimensions to them.
Yeah.
Human being, the idea of the human being, why God asked all the angels to kneel to the human being, because the human being, although made out of mud, has the potential to be all of those qualities.
Right. That's
can
really nice.
embody all of these.
That's nice.
Which none of the angel can.
Right.
So the human being is created in the image of God, they say, because human being can be much more than any of the angels. But of course, human beings begin like clods, not develop, but as they develop, they can have all the qualities.
But what about Lucifer?
Lucifer.
No, I mean, we lose that quality.
Yeah,
we don't have that quality.
Well, he continues to be some kind of angel, but became the devil.
No, I'm saying as if human has all the quality of all the angel, including Lucifer, even though Lucifer has been kicked out. Okay,
that's pure rebellion.
That's pure light. Okay. That's pure light or pure luminosity.
Pure rebellion in the case of
but he became rebellion.
He wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. He wanted to be on Saturday Night Live.
Yes. So
Satan.
Right. So I take that as a metaphor.
Yes.
That helps me understand human being is the being who has the potential for everything.
Yes, that's Buddha.
The potential to have all the qualities of compassion, love, intelligence, creativity,
yes.
beauty, all of that, and all the powers that goes with it that Buddha.
You know
the Buddhism has.
Yes.
So I see that as a metaphor.
I think that's great.
But then, how is a human being created by a deity or not? Which is what we've been discussing.
Well,
right?
It depends on what you think.
No,
God
I want
is.
to tell you what I think.
What's that?
I want to tell you what I think. What
Okay,
the Diamond Approach
sure.
says.
Tell me.
I'm telling you the story of the Diamond Approach. How it looks at the human being. Because you ask me so frequently, what is the Diamond Approach?
Okay.
The idea of the Diamond Approach is that reality as a whole is similar to many of the Eastern teaching in the sense there's an underlying ground of luminosity and emptiness. Mm-hmm. Emptiness is the real nature of everything, but that emptiness can only be known by luminosity or clarity or intelligence or consciousness. So consciousness is not the most fundamental thing. Emptiness is more fundamental, just as you believe it.
Okay.
You know, of course, Dzogchen, as you know, combine the two and make empty luminosity.
Okay.
Right? And that beingness that is what is the spiritual nature, what I call true nature. You ask what is true nature. And that true nature has implicit in it all the qualities that the angel's supposed to have.
Okay.
It has in it the possibilities of compassion, possibilities of love, possibility of generosity, creativity, satisfaction, pleasure, all of that. All of those are qualities. It's like being, I call it being, which is nothing but empty luminosity and consciousness. Right. But it has implicit in it, non-differentiated, all those differentiated quality that can emerge differentiated as pure as when we experience pleasure or when we experience satisfaction, we experience fulfillment. That is a differentiation coming out of the non-differentiated beingness. Now, this beingness manifests beings. Manifest, just as it manifests quality, manifests being. All the beings manifest the whole universe, and that is similar in Buddhism and many other. Everything emerges just like Zogchen said, it's a display. Everything is a display.
A play, yeah.
A display, that's what Zogchen said. So in the Diamond Approach, everything emerges out of this creative ground, and from that creates beings, and one of these beings is the human beings who has the capacity from all these beings that are emerged, the crocodiles and the others and all that, and the earth and the sun and all that. There is also emerges the being that we call a human being, but this human being is the only one from all these beings that has the potential of recognizing this, its source, its nature, and also is able to realize all those qualities and express them with other human beings.
In the form of play, ideally.
Also play, life, and personal life.
But you said it's play, and it is play.
Yeah. So that,
therefore, human being is the most capable of having more fun.
Exactly.
Okay.
more
That's
fun.
time. That's it.
Fun and profundity. And the thing about a human being that makes us a human being
Yeah.
is that we love discovery. We love novelty.
We love novels.
Novelty.
Novelty.
Oh, novelty.
Novelty.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a crocodile,
Yeah.
it doesn't care what kind of food you're going to have.
No,
Well,
crocodile didn't like
doesn't
the
like it.
Italian. They wanted to eat the American, the crocodile.
A
So.
human being is like Italian.
No, it likes
Perfect
Italians,
human
but it doesn't want to eat
like
them.
variety.
And ice cream in 24. Yeah.
Ice cream, the next
Absolutely.
thing, you know. So novelty is discovery. What is discovery? Is discovering the potentialities of
agree.
experience, of possibility.
Absolutely.
And other beings don't have that kind of
Yes.
curiosity. So curiosity goes along with intelligence that is characteristic of what makes us be human beings.
Yes.
And I imagine you agree with that. So, as you see, the Diamond approach is very
That's fine.
understandable to you.
It's good.
It makes sense
You
to
see
you.
this? This is your Vajra.
Yeah.
You see, and you need one of these in crystal. If I had one, I would give it to you that I could take. I can't rip this off.
Yeah, these two
That's the
sides.
bell.
Huh? Yeah.
That's the bell.
Oh, that's the bell, yes.
You know, and then
that's, these two
in some
vibes.
level,
Yeah.
You know, the Vajra is the male,
Yeah.
and the bell is the female.
Yeah, I know.
The Vajra is the compassion and the love and stupidity, and the female is intelligence and wisdom. That's the bell.
So the bell is the intelligence.
The female.
And wisdom.
And the female, and the Vajra is
the compassion and love. Yeah.
As-
I mean, of
as
course,
stupidity.
every male has
yeah,
female
yeah,
side and female has male side, etc. You know, it's not like
So
that. But
does that make-
but they're an important
does that-
pair. They're an important pair.
Does that make Diamond Approach similar to Buddhism?
Yes, of course, it is Buddhism. What's similar about
is?
it? It doesn't make it a changing religion.
Yeah.
I told you it's not a religion, except for people who don't use it.
Well,
And then they just believe it's a nice thing. Then that they can be a religion.
okay.
Otherwise,
So
religion
you,
means
you have the view.
tie yourself up in
You
a
have the
belief.
view that Buddhism is not a religion, it is a science or a philosophy.
Yes.
Now, most Buddhists are only religious, are not practicing Buddhists.
I'm not one.
Most Buddhists are not practicing. They don't practice for
I know,
enlightenment.
but because
Most
we're in a
Buddhists,
time of
they're-
degeneration.
Yeah, but
We're in a time-
for most Buddhists, it's a religion.
Well, yes. In other words,
fact,
for those who
even-
can't use it, that's what I said, who don't really use
Yeah.
the education system, that is what it really is.
Yeah, but
the evolution system.
even if you go-
for them, it can be a
Even
religion.
when you go to Almaas and you take your vows, you become a Buddhist.
Well, yes, but you know what the vow is? No, but you know
you're
what
a
the vow
Buddhist
is?
now. They don't tell you it's a religion, but you're a Buddhist.
No, but wait. The vow
Yeah,
is Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha,
right,
but for refuge.
right,
But of those three, the only real refuge is Dharma,
right,
they always say.
right.
And Dharma, in its ultimate meaning, is not doctrine or teaching
Yeah.
or any such thing. It's reality.
Yeah,
Buddha is a teacher,
Yeah.
and the Sangha is the community trying to follow the teaching. So Dharma means reality itself.
reality, truth.
So
right.
if you pledge, so really taking refuge means, I will not follow the American adage, ignorance is bliss. I will say, I will acknowledge that ignorance causes suffering,
Yeah,
and I will consider reality as bliss. And so I will be realistic, and I will honestly try to discover reality. And that's my faith.
So
I have faith in reality.
yeah. So you like to have fun.
What?
You seem to you like to have fun. You like
Yes.
you like bliss.
Yes, everybody likes to have fun.
Well, not everybody.
Yes. Oh, well, some French people.
I like fun. You
Some-
do. I
some
do.
French people.
Italians do.
Yeah, some French
That's
people.
what I like to go to
Poor
Italy for
Mathieu Ricard,
vacation,
my friend
because they like
Mathieu
to have
Ricard,
fun,
my dear
yeah.
friend. He has a real problem with some French intellectuals
Yes.
who are down there with their Calvados and their Gauloise on the left bank in their cafe, drinking too much coffee, and they say, "J'aime ma souffrance. I'm not going to give up my souffrance."
Right.
And this happiness is trivial, you know, blah, 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 you know. And you know,
Translation, I'm
Hey.
not going to give away my suffering.
that's right.
In case
And
somebody-
so there are people like that who get themselves worked up like that. Yes, because well, that's their way of reacting to the fact that the human cultures authoritarian, fascist cultures tend to terrorize their subjects to keep them under control, frighten them. So you have to come through me, the priest. You have to come through me, the king. You have to come through me, whoever. The doctor, you know. You can't find reality for yourself. That's how they terrorize them.
Yeah.
You know.
So
then the ones who want to suffer, they just they have caved into that.
Yeah, I want to come back to something. When I saw you at lunch, you wanted to talk about shunyata.
Shunyata, yes.
Yeah,
well, I wanted to say from what you were saying, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I forgot that now. I wanted to say one phrase to you.
Yeah.
Which you expressed beautifully as the Diamond Way, but I think it's the best phrase in the world. Although all of them are only relative phrases. Yeah. But it's Nagarjuna's phrase.
Yeah.
It's also in some tantra, so he gets it from Buddha. But shunyata karuna garbham. So that means emptiness, the womb of compassion.
Yes.
So there, emptiness is not seen as what's often used as an analogy for it, of like an open space or something.
Yeah.
Which then people can wrongly think when they go out in open space, they're in emptiness. But emptiness doesn't mean that. Emptiness is like a membrane of like infinite nurturing power that creates sensitivity and compassion, and it helps people feel that it's unbearable that others suffer, or themselves even.
Yeah.
And they won't tolerate it, and they will find bliss in reality to heal the suffering. It's a beautiful thing, I think. And by the way, the word garba, I love this one. You know, everybody, all those macho Zen people, and all macho Tibetans, they go around Buddha nature, they go nature, nature. But the word is not nature. And in Chinese even, they translate it as nature.
That's good to know.
Shang, you know, Xing. But actually the word is not nature. The word is womb.
Buddha.
So what everybody has is a Buddha womb. And so the male chauvinist warrior cultures in which Buddhism slowly infected them with the seed of compassion, they didn't want to tell the warriors, you have a Buddha womb, guy. I don't want to have a womb. What is that? You know, I'm a guy. You know, but the real word is womb.
It's womb, yeah.
It's a beautiful.
As a metaphor.
In a temple, you know, the center where the central deity is.
But my understanding, reading the Dalai Lama and many, Tsongkhapa and all of those, and you're an expert in those, the way they define emptiness is the lack of inherent to existence.
Yeah. Well, I don't like that translation. Intrinsic reality, I prefer.
Yeah. So
or intrinsic identity is better.
It's the lack of
inherent existence, because inherent is like it's inhering, it's attaching itself to something.
Yeah.
Intrinsic means it comes out of the thing. You know?
Yeah.
So
the lack of
that's
intrinsic
a translator
existence.
Thing. Intrinsic reality is much better.
So the lack of intrinsic reality or lack of intrinsic existence?
Yeah, you can say existence if you want.
So that's why you say human beings don't exist relatively, but not absolutely.
Right. And so and then there's three levels actually. One the Dalai Lama will say sometimes.
Yeah.
And when he says in some of his science dialogues, but he's too polite to really challenge them. He's too nice, you know. Yeah. But anyway, the three levels are intrinsic reality, intrinsic objectivity, and intrinsic identity.
Yeah.
And intrinsic reality means sort of ontological level, where you think the things. I love. There's a term that Peter Berger used. The floor has its own massive facticity. I love that term.
Yeah, facticity.
It's like, wow, that's really the floor by itself, which then takes away my construction of the floor by my organizing of my perception into the floor. You know, so I'm involved with the floor. Instead of that, it's over there by itself. It has objectivity. Then second, so intrinsic reality is just ontological. Intrinsic objectivity is where that's on the perceptual level.
Yeah.
And intrinsic identity is on the language level.
Yeah.
Linguistic term from thousands of years ago, not just waiting for Derrida and Wittgenstein, where you know the thing's name, the identity of the thing, that's the same enduring thing that never changes in the thing, by which your name fits with it, and it's there intrinsic to it. That doesn't have that, and so emptiness empties all those three levels of subtlety, and so then and another thing, and so shunyata mandates that things are created constantly by language. And the word creates things. And so he said, this one Lama that I liked, who was a little more challenging to scientists, he said, so we're waiting for you to, you've disassembled the atom, you've disassembled everything, and you're down there thinking things are made by this and that in causality, but you haven't really gotten the relationship of name and thing. And so the power of your own mind, you're still in denial about. And that's why your science has stalled, actually. Because you won't acknowledge that you have a mind. Because what emptiness does is it doesn't make you reckless and behave badly like some of these gurus do.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want, there's no good and evil. That's wrong. They're still harming beings, is still evil.
Yeah.
But when you realize emptiness, you realize your own responsibility of shaping your experience and the experience of others. And it makes you, because you realize you have to constantly recreate yourself. You're evolving yourself and others. So you can't just casually sit back and say everything this and that and meaningless. So you have to make meaning.
Yeah, so is emptiness in this case is something that is understood, or is something that is experienced?
I'm sorry, that thing is still stuck at 20. It's been 20 for like an hour. Oh,
19.
Okay.
It was 20 for 60 seconds.
We still have 19
Time
minutes.
stop.
Time stops when you're having too much fun.
No, because I was hearing about Diamond Way.
Yeah.
That's the Vajra way. That's Vajra. That's
Approach.
Yeah, now we're back to Buddhism.
Approach, not way.
We're talking
short way.
Diamond approach, not diamond way.
Diamond approach.
Diamond what?
Approach.
Diamond source.
Approach.
Up close.
Approach.
Oh,
Both.
approach.
It's a way of approaching experience.
It's actually a little fun to be semi-deaf.
Yeah.
It is. Although it was a big disillusionment.
Well,
I thought I was enlightened, reaching the silence. And then I'm just getting deaf.
well, you're enlightened, at least partially.
I'm working on it. But no, I'm not enlightened. I don't claim enlightenment. That's to be stuck in the demon ghost cave and it's no fun.
I want to understand more about your understanding of emptiness. So, emptiness, the way you mention it, in terms of, ontological and all of that, is it something that is simply understood, or can it be experienced?
This is great. So thank you for that one.
Yeah.
This is something I'm recently getting into.
Yeah.
And I think I've got something here.
Yeah.
Because in a way, you can't experience nirvana, actually, in a way.
Yeah.
In the sense of what we think of as experience. Mm-hmm. Because we think of a subject experiencing an object or a field or something, or yourself emerging in something, and you're still feeling you emerged in it, you're immersed in it. But actually, since this is something uncreated, as Buddha said, which you simply realize you've always been there, you can't really feel immersed because you already are made of it. It's like you can't see something that your eye is also made out of. The object and your eye are on the same level. So there's no vision there in a certain way, if you follow me. So in a way, so put it this way, at the point where inference and immediate experience, that duality dissolves. That is the point where you experience it. Because in some sense, we can say experience, but in a way it's almost like an inference. It's like you gave up the threshold of the realization of emptiness is a sense of falling into an abyss that seems like nothingness to the person who goes there. And they recoil in fear from that, unless they're capable, or unless they really know that nothing's nothing. Otherwise they get scared. And that's kind of the last objective experience, they say, of a subject-object. So that's where you melt and give yourself up, which you do as a yogi, a diamond yogi. You do it as a bliss.
Right.
To really have a bliss, you melt.
So you're saying
you surrender to it. You can't overpower it.
It's a non-dual experience.
What?
It's a non-dual experience.
Yes, and so, but the point is that in a way, what enables you to do it is the experiential power of inference, which is powerful.
Yeah.
actually. And we have this idea that inference is not powerful and only direct, non-conceptual experience.
That's because I understand you believe Nagarjuna and you're a scholar of Tsongkhapa. And
yes.
that's
and there's something I hadn't heard until recently.
Yeah.
It's something you will really like. So
Yeah.
And I will share it with you, which is this. It's called the 4 points of the confidence of feeling the Buddha confidence, or the divine confidence, they would call it, one or the other. And these 4 points are, what I see is nothing. What I know is emptiness. What I feel is bliss. What I am is clear light. And I've been playing with these 4 points.
That's good.
And notice that that 4th one is like an assertion.
That's I like that. Yeah.
A relative thing. It's an
yeah.
assertion.
Yeah.
It's a
positive.
creative thing.
Yeah.
I know you like that.
Who said that?
Don't you like that?
Yeah.
You do like that.
Who said that?
I love it.
Who said that?
What?
Where did you hear it?
Well, I heard it from a friend who had heard it from a Geshe-la in Australia. And then I went to Dalai Lama. I saw him a little bit after that. I said, what about that? I didn't hear that. You didn't tell me that. Oh, yeah, what is that? And then I said, and he said, oh, yeah, this is Ngutsu Dhammabhadra. He mentioned a particular follower of Tsongkhapa, but several centuries later, called Ngutsu Dhammabhadra, the good Dharma of Mercury. It was his name in Tibetan, Ngutsu Dhammabhadra. And so then at that point, one of his monks gave me a book of his commentary on a certain practice. His Holiness's commentary, which was wrapped in, nicely in plastic, how they wrap it up so it won't fall open, it was in a shelf, in a box. He gave me this thing. And then I went home to my hotel room there in Dharamsala, and I took my thumbnail and I broke the plastic, and the thing fell open to the page 239. In Tibetan, which was giving a textual version of this. It was said to be kind of oral tradition, of the four characteristics or qualities of this divine confidence, or Buddha confidence. He used the word also divine. And I've just been playing with that. And that connects, because what I see is nothing. So in a way, direct perception, you give it up.
You don't see anything.
You give it up, like they say, the hip-hop people, give it up. Emptiness, though, so you can't be trapped in any kind of seeming state of nothingness or formless realm. You're not trapped, because emptiness. Any experience is itself empty of itself. You'll never be trapped anywhere. What I feel is bliss. That's the melting process of my boundary, like defending myself against the universe. I surrender to the cosmos. And then, since it doesn't destroy me, what I am is clear light, is diamond. That's clear light means diamond, Vajra.
Right. Is that why, when they're talking about the tantras,
yes,
from what I understand, in Tibetan tantras, they think they believe the most reliable tantras or yogas that for enlightenment are 2: the tantra of death.
Well, death is involved, but it isn't ordinary death.
Yeah,
in the sense that
the other one is sexual tantra.
Well, no, they're the same.
Yeah.
In French, the word for orgasm in French?
Yeah.
What do you say in Italian? No,
I'm wondering,
we don't do that in Italian.
Piccolo morte, no.
Because
the French say le petit mort.
Because sexual tantra has to do with bliss.
Has what?
It has to do with bliss.
No, death won't do. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm talking about sexual tantra.
No, there's no
because sexual tantra, which many of the lamas, when they get old and they don't get it, they finally get a consort because they haven't gotten there. So, I'm going to die. I better get a consort, and they usually many of them get a consort.
Well, people can get hung up.
Yes,
but my point is this: they have this technology,
yeah,
which the Google people don't pay for. And this technology has to do with the fact that the super subtle soul consciousness, S-O-U-L, soul consciousness, is centered in the heart center. And it's knotted up by a six-fold knot, which, like Star of David, Seal of Solomon, Shiva Shakti. There's a six-fold knot of the right and left nervous system channels. And in order to open the central channel and to achieve the equivalent of petit mot or grand mot in all the nervous system, not just genital area, then you have to open those knots. And so you have to go to the place, and then when a normal person dies, what death is defined as in that technology, is where those knots like fling themselves open, and this subtle soul consciousness separates from the body. So the yogic one, to what you're calling sexual, where there's partners, and that's so rare because both partners have to be at the same level.
Same level, exactly.
One can't be using the other one who's just out there huffing and puffing. Won't work.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Both are at the same level of samadhi.
I agree with you.
But the point is to completely realize that is that they have to go to this place where they're at the event horizon of death, because they've opened this total thing, and the soul consciousness is open, and then the soul gives itself, but doesn't destroy connection to the body, and therefore doesn't have to die, and so it doesn't create in the bardo. And of course, that's the essence of Tantra, is to go lucidly down to the level where you can go to where you could die, but you don't. And then at that level, you can leave your body in a certain trance, and then you go in what is called a Maya body, magic body, or illusion body, and then you can do all kinds of things, and you can surrender and live and die and live and die and live and die and live and die, and you can compress many lifetimes of meritorious, generous, moral, tolerant activity, wisdom activity, in a single hour.
An interesting thing, Bob. I listened to you earlier when you gave your talk, and now you bring it up again. I noticed you use the word soul.
Yes.
In the context of Buddhism.
Dalai Lama does too.
I thought the Buddhists don't believe in soul.
No. But if you say that, then you have to believe that Buddhists don't believe in the nose. Because when Prajnaparamita, transcended wisdom...
Why is it then when they say anatma, they say no soul? Why is it translated
Because you can say that. And they can also say no nose. And no head, and no body, and no nothing.
So there is soul in Buddhism.
Yes, of course. What is it that takes it's a continuum? However, it's not a rigid, fixed intrinsic identity like a barcode. It never changes. That is not.
That's exactly my understanding.
It's a complete continuum.
That is exactly my understanding of soul.
Of course it is.
Is a dynamic, changing, creative, ever evolving, ever unfolding, until it recognizes that it is nothing but the clear light of the void.
You have a nice hand. It's really nice.
I'm so happy that you tell me that Buddhism believes in soul.
Of course.
Because most Buddhists say no.
Well, they like, that's what I said.
They say there's no soul.
That was my point earlier.
And they equate soul with ego. For some reason.
Human beings are desperate to run away from their own sensitivity. A lot of their spirituality gives them like a method.
So that makes Buddhism not that different from actually Judaism or Christianity, because they all believe in soul.
Exactly.
For them, soul.
Dalai Lama,
the spirituality is all about soul.
All he does when he gives lecture in America, he tells people, I'm not trying to convert you to Buddhism. I don't want you to be Buddhist. You keep your grandmother's religion and all this. And I recently had a dream in which I sort of was confirmed more about that. I mean, I've been agreeing with that for a long time, but it was even deeper. And why is that? And it was in relation to Christianity, particularly, but Judaism, he particularly likes Judaism because they don't try to convert you. You have to be born one. Like, I'm a New Yorker, I always wanted to be Jewish, but I never had a bar mitzvah. They wouldn't give it to me because I'm some kind of wasp, So I have officiated at bat mitzvahs for Jewish friends of mine. Although the rabbi wasn't too sure about that. But my point is that if the whole point of Buddhism even as an education system or as a religion where you could begin an education system, is that it's very important for the human being to feel beloved.
Yes.
Because they are terrorized by their authorities in every culture, West and East. So they need to feel beloved. Avalokiteshvara means the God who looks down with loving care at all beings from the heaven, and he loves everyone. So does Jesus. So does Rabbi Hillel.
Right.
So do the Hasidics.
Yeah.
So does Khizr and Muhammad and all these people.
Yeah.
So therefore, why would Buddha, why would the Dalai Lama or any Buddhist want someone to say, oh, I don't want to be loved by Jesus. I want to be loved by somebody whose name I can't pronounce.
Yeah. So you need to put this on record that Buddhism does believe in soul.
And we'll make him sign.
It is very important.
No problem.
Because many of our...
But not absolute soul, relative soul.
Relative
changing
soul.
Continuum.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's fixed, non-changing, the way some people
Just
see.
like the nose.
No, it is dynamic.
As we grow old, the nose collapses.
Evolving. Well, it is like living consciousness. But you see, like many non-dual teachers these days, many of what call themselves non-dual teachers, they say there's no such thing as soul.
I know.
And I kept saying, what those people talk about? What do they know?
I know. Well, I'm sorry, but even some of the people who think of Turiya in Hinduism, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as some state of absolute isolation from everything, including their body, forever. Except maybe they say, well, Brahma's there, but I'm Brahma, so they don't feel guilty that they're all by themselves in some psychotic isolation.
Yeah.
And they think that's enlightenment. And like, who's washing the dishes?
Really?
Mrs. Brahman is washing the dishes, all by herself. When they do that. Yeah. So I have to challenge that. That has to be challenged.
I agree. That's why I'm bringing it up.
And
I'm
formless
glad
states.
The authority in Buddhism telling us Buddhism does believe in soul.
Absolutely.
It's because most Buddhists, they will say no.
You know why? Because early Westerners who went out there as British judges, or functionaries in the colonial enterprise, French and English especially, but some others, but mostly them, they were the type of people who were escaping from Christianity, like the scientists and the Inquisition and the oppression of the church. And so they thought, they heard about anatma, which is like a technical thing about the status of the soul. And that it was an intrinsic identity. It was not an intrinsic fixed stated identity, static thing. And they said, oh, great, we can have a religion, a sort of ethical sort of thing, and discipline and meditation and all this. And also it's great because they love suffering. They say truth is suffering. Oh, we can suffer without that, we can righteously suffer. And we don't have a soul, so we don't have to be scared of the preacher in the church who tells us we're going to hell. And so they fastened on that, and they didn't get to the prajnaparamita where in the same breath that it says no soul, it says no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no this, no that. Because that means no intrinsically fixated, any of those things. No intrinsically real.
The thing about fixated, I always wonder, maybe you can answer this question. When I try to understand no anatma, no self, or I try to find what do they mean by self, like in the Pali Canon, all of that. They say it's independent, autonomous, existent, non-changing, fixed.
And they say that critiquing all of there's different levels of the critique.
Okay, now, who believed that there was a self like this?
Everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
They believed they were like that, non-changing?
Yes.
Who was non-changing?
Yeah, they do. That's ignorance. People do.
Who is it here who believe that they are non-changing, always the same, eternal? I don't know anybody who believes that.
No, that's the problem.
I don't know.
They think.
I don't know anybody.
They're always changing. Their body, everything they contact is changing.
No, they even mean.
But they're under the control of what they feel, sense. Behind their changing, some fixed thing that they're not living up to, and they can't find it. They never can experience it, but they feel it's there. It's like somebody's watching you, your absolute soul. And so therefore they project. They project it into, say, God is absolute, but he creates the world without relating to it.
Let me put it
Then they say,
this way. Let me put it this way. I never believed I'm like that.
Well, not theoretically. There's two different levels.
I never aspire to be like that.
Oh, look at that.
Believed it.
Let's find a good closing, because here this is a great conversation.
So
we can go on forever.
I don't know really what Buddhism was in the
No, seriously, come on, we have another.
Just one more second.
Yeah, no, but let's go towards, because this is a beautiful start of a new hour and a half, this conversation.
Yeah.
And we don't have it. So let's find a way to go there and close it with one line that makes everything like, whoa.
Okay. So the thing is, they say that you may not in this life, which means you already achieved something in a previous life, which is possible. I have no idea, personally. So I can't question whether you say you never.
I was your mother.
If you never had a theory about it, that's different from what they say is, if you meditate yourself, if you remember in your mind, the meditation on selflessness is not looking for selflessness, it's looking at the self. And what you do is you think of a time when somebody falsely accused you of something and you were innocent. You hadn't done it. Like, you took my ice cream, you did something, you betrayed me, you did something like that. You hadn't actually, not when you did it, but when you didn't do it. But if you remember that time, hold on. Yeah. You remember that time, and they say you meditate on that for a long time.
Yeah.
You look into your memory, and then you can find in there a disagreement with the idea of no self. That, because it comes out, it pops out when armored by a sense of innocence, an injured innocence. Once you're angry and you're righteously indignant, then it's too late. You can't really notice the engine of it. But the sort of absolutizing of the source of your emotions and your sense of presence, the logocentrism, like Derrida said, you can find in there, if you're an ordinary person. I'm not saying you personally, because you may have achieved something in previous life, or you don't. But that's how people find that.
Well, you see, the thing...
So to successfully realize selflessness, they have to first realize they don't agree with anybody who says either neti or selflessness. They don't viscerally, in a subconscious manner, they don't agree with it.
I'm not saying selflessness. I believed I had a self, but I never thought it's unchanging.
Right.
That's what I'm denying.
Then you meditated.
And on that line, we seem to agree.
Even the ending of the time is not unchanging. Thank you very much, camera.
Wait.
Psychological theory now, the psychologists, the way they talk about how the self develops, they see it as a construct in the mind and is developed through experience, but they don't see it as non-changing. All the psychologists think the self is always changing. So the idea of a self that's non-changing, I wonder, where did it come from? Was there any Indian kind of Hindu sect that believe that their
you
self...
can find it all over. I can help you with that.
Yes.
But don't worry, we're finished.
Okay.
And you know what? We've deepened the question of being a human being.
Yes.
I think, thanks to you.
Yes.
And thanks to the fun that you enabled.
That's the point of it.
And thanks to having an Italian with us, where you have to have fun.
Yes.
There's no way out.
Exactly.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Crazy, man.
That's good.
That's so crazy.